Good afternoon, St. Amelia School community. As promised, I am presenting today to try to issue some of the questions and concerns that you have voiced to me via email and a phone call. So I thank you for sending those in, and hopefully I can calm some of your apprehensions and nervousness as we move into the start of the 2021-2022 school year. I want to welcome everybody back. I can't wait to see the children back in the school building once we start on Wednesday, September the 8th. Our theme for this year is to reimagine, to restore, and to reaffirm. I believe in a theme that is both something that we can live by, that we can take action from, and that the children understand. So we will be talking quite a bit this year about that theme. There will be several forms that you will need to fill out. They will be sent home, but also available on our virtual backpack. Our website has been redesigned, and we highly encourage you to visit the website to get familiar with the website, and also to look at all of the resources that are available there, including all of the forms. There are several changes this year that we are excited to talk about. One is the moving of our counseling center into one unified space where we have a group therapy room and two separate private therapy rooms, one for our social worker and one for our Catholic charity, or rather our school counselor. We also are starting our positive support program this year. A permission slip will be going home if your child is in need of a little bit of cheering up or a break from the everyday routine of the classroom. We do have a dog. Actually, our school accountant, Mrs. Stitzinger's dog, Dory, will be coming to school occasionally as part of our positive support program to help children deal with any stress and anxiety that they may have. The Committee on Special Education and our new director have been hard at work creating a very systematic and comprehensive program to assist any child that has learning needs or social emotional needs. Many of you have probably been in contact with Mrs. Finnegan already, but if not, I encourage you to reach out to her. We also have a new art and music teacher this year. I know change can be a little bit scary, but I can assure you that the changes that are coming are going to be great changes. We're very excited for the energy and enthusiasm that these two new teachers are going to bring to our Encore program here at St. Amelia. As you're probably aware by now, we have a new superintendent of schools downtown at the Diocese of Buffalo. The superintendent of schools, Dr. Tim Ewell, is a very hands-on superintendent. He plans on visiting the schools and bringing a team of deputy superintendents with him to become involved in the education of the children. That's a refreshing change from some of the past practices of the downtown Diocese Department of Catholic Education. Our school board also is looking to increase parent involvement and increase the say that parents have with programs and the education of their children. There were several questions that were sent in, and I will start answering a few of those questions. There were some questions regarding drop-off. Drop-off worked very, very well last year, so we are going to continue with the 3 lanes of drop-off in the morning. The pre-K will be dropped off at the back entrance, and the kindergarten through 8th grade students will be dropped off at the front entrance. Of importance is the allowance of us to have siblings of pre-K students also dropped off at the back door to make it easier for parents so they don't have to go from the back to the front. Pre-K parents may walk their children up to the first set of doors. However, there will not be any parents allowed in the building. We are trying to greatly reduce the number of visitors in the building, not only for safety and security reasons, but also as a result of the continued restrictions COVID has placed on us here at the school. School will begin at 7:45 this year. That is the traditional start time. Last year we were starting at 8 o'clock. However, we are going to start at our original time of 7:45 beginning this year. Students may be dropped off anytime between 7:15 and 7:45. They will be escorted into the building by school faculty and staff. They will then be sent to their homeroom after picking up a free breakfast if they would like that. This year, until June of this year, we once again are eligible for the free breakfast and lunch program at the school, and we encourage all students to take advantage of that benefit. Pickup. Pre-K will be released at 2:30 out the back door. As I said, siblings will be allowed to be picked up at the back door as well. That's a convenience to the parents. We will then follow with the K-8 dismissal. We will dismiss at 2:30 students that are being picked up first, and then bus riders after. Don't crowd yourselves, but space out accordingly. The mandate for mask wearing outside is one that it is highly recommended but not required. As such, while it is recommended that masks are worn out in the parking lot, as long as you maintain socially distant, we will not require masks during pickup. However, if you need to come into the building for any reason, masks will be required at that time. When it comes to leaving the parking lot, I ask that you please exercise caution. I will be outside at the exit as I was last year. We also will have assistance from the local police department in regards to reckless driving outside on Eggert, speeding, and things like that, especially during the first 2 weeks of the school year. After school program will start at 2:50 p.m. So if you do not pick up your child by 2:50, your child will then be sent to the after-school program and you will be billed accordingly. So please attempt to be on time for pickup. The after-school program this year will have a form that you need to fill out weekly. This is so we can better gauge the staffing we need for the after-school program and for logistics as to where students will be placed. This does not mean if you need to utilize the program on a given day and you did not sign up the week before, you cannot use the program. We will still honor daily requests if and when needed. We ask that you do your best to try not to wait till the last minute to sign up for the after-school program. From a communication standpoint this year, on our website, I encourage you to go to our school website. Our school website has all the information you need regarding the upcoming school year. Any form you might need is, as I had said before, on the virtual backpack. This is updated regularly. Our website also has our staff directory, which has links to every teacher's email. So if you're looking for an email address, that is a good place to look. On the subject of email, I will be talking more about COVID a little bit later, but briefly I wanted to just talk about the email that we set up. There is an email address that is set up specifically for COVID-related questions and concerns. That is covid@stameliaschool.org. That's COVID, COVID, at stameliaschool.org. A change in our digital communication for this year. We will be changing our e-news. We have decided to rename our e-news and it will be called the Nightly News. Of note, it will not be coming out nightly. It is nightly news because we are the St. Amelia Knights. It will be coming out once a week on a Thursday. The Nightly News is where you can find any important information for the week. On Tuesday, the Homeschool Association will send out a weekly newsletter as well, and on that they will provide agendas for upcoming meetings, financial reports, and important information on fundraisers and other information. So we encourage you to please take the time to read both of those digital newsletters. As mentioned earlier, there were several questions that related to COVID. I will do my best to answer these questions. However, if you have a specific question that is maybe more specific and not generalized, then I encourage you to please use the COVID email and we will respond to your question that way. One of the questions was that if a student tests positive, what will the protocol be? There's a flow chart that is posted on our school website. I will also be sharing it. I believe I did already, but I can share it again in the nightly news when it comes out. That highlights all of the protocols and the steps that need to be taken in the event of a positive case or a positive exposure to a case. Masks are required in the building at all times. The only exception to this will be during lunch. At lunchtime, students will have to take their masks off. Obviously, at that time, as of the latest guidance from the state on this past Friday, a 6-foot distance must be maintained between students eating. As a result of this change, we are now going to divide the lunch into the cafeteria and the Don Miller Hall. We will have staffing to cover both of those areas. This will allow us to safely distance the children while allowing them to eat lunch in the cafeteria setting as opposed to the classroom. Pre-K through kindergarten will still be eating upstairs. We will be working with the teachers to ensure the proper distancing is met in those classes as well. When outside, as I said, masks will not be required. We will also be maintaining a social distance of around 3 feet whenever possible outside, just as a extra precaution to keep the children safe. On the subject of masks in the building, there were a few questions about mask exemptions. Mask exemptions are strictly for a child that has a severe medical need that indicates a contraindication if masks are worn. This would constitute less than 1% of all students enrolled in schools in New York State. There is a very detailed process that has to be gone through if an exemption is required. So if that is something that you need to look into with me, you can let me know. However, it is a lengthy process, and masks are shown to protect our children, so we are highly encouraging everyone to wear those masks at all times. Temperature checks last year took place out in the parking lot. This year we're doing something a little bit different. We are going to require the parents to do the temperature checks in the mornings. We'll be sending a COVID screening questionnaire on the Friday before the following week. You will be required to be forthcoming with information. We're not asking you to submit that daily. We are merely asking you to tell us if one of the questions on the questionnaire changes from a no to a yes throughout the course of the week. You will also need to inform the school if a student that would ordinarily come to school on Monday through Friday has a temperature when they are screened by you at home. We already covered social distancing. Our students are actually quite good at the social distancing after last year, so that's just something we will continue doing this year. If a student is sent to the nurse with COVID-like symptoms, that student is required to go to our care room. The procedure has not changed from last year. The child will go to the care room. The parent will be notified. We ask that you please be cognizant of our staff and make every attempt to get here in a timely fashion. We did have some instances where it was several hours that we had to watch someone in the care room last year, and we don't have the staffing resources to tie up an individual that long, so we ask that you please try to pick up your child as soon as possible, especially if they're not feeling well. You would want them to be home and comfortable rather than sitting in the care room. In order to return after being sent home with a potential COVID exposure and diagnosis, the child would need either a negative PCR test. The PCR test has about a 2-day turnaround time. The PCR test, if negative, would allow the child to return to school. During those 2 days, it would be treated as a general absence, and the child would receive homework just as if they were home with a head cold or any other illness. The other two options are an alternative diagnosis from your pediatrician or a 10-day quarantine period. Any volunteers that enter the building, even though we will be greatly limiting volunteers for the short term, will be required to wear a mask. We are currently not letting unexpected volunteers into the building and limiting volunteers, obviously, to try and eliminate any unnecessary exposures or risks to our students and staff. However, any visitors that do enter the building will be screened and temperature checked at the door prior to being entered. There was a few questions about shutdown pending positive cases. This really is a case-by-case question. There is no one-size-fits-all answer to this. The school has been assigned a case manager, and I would be working in conjunction with the case manager from the health department in order to determine this. If the Kenton Public School District shuts down, St. Amelia School does not shut down. The reason is, while the district may shut down, they're not technically closed. They would be on their distance learning plan. If the district were to close for, say, a snow day or some other reason, we would be required to close. However, if the district campus is returned to a distance learning plan, we would be able to remain on campus as we did last year during the district's DLP. There was a meeting at the middle of the month regarding sports. At this time, sports, outside sports specifically, are continuing to be scheduled and go on. Indoor sports meetings are starting to be had, and as I said, mid-month there will be a meeting about indoor sports, what the requirements will be, if it'll be possible to have those sports depending on COVID numbers, and if spectators will be allowed within the buildings. Just to clarify, the distance learning plan will still be utilized if it is necessary for an entire class or group of classes or the school to go into a quarantine for any length of time. There is no remote option. The remote option was a offering that both private and public schools gave last year for students that could not attend school or that parents chose to not have their child attend school. That is not an option in the schools this year. You would have to select a homeschool option or provide the documentation that your child fell in that less than 1% of students that are exempted from masks in order to qualify for any sort of special education plan. How often will the school be cleaned? It is required that we deep clean the school every 24 hours. That includes wiping down of the desks, vacuuming of the floors, common touch surfaces, just as we did last year. We will not be doing any sort of COVID testing before school starts. The reason for this is the Erie County Health Department has taken away all schools' limited service licenses, meaning we cannot do full rapid tests within a school setting. Any testing that is required will be done through a partnership that we have established with the Erie County Department of Health and their certified and trained nursing staff. There will be no mandatory vaccination requirement for faculty or staff, just as there will not be for students. The only way this would change is if we are mandated by either the county or the state or the CDC or some other governing agency to get the vaccine. The vast majority of our faculty and staff are vaccinated. However, it is not something that is required at this time. There was a question about how many cases we need to have before we switch from our in-school learning to our distance learning plan. Once again, that's a case-by-case scenario. It would depend on numbers of students, locations of students, etc. So that would be determined with our case manager at that time. As far as notification of positive cases within the school, We will be sending home a general letter each time there is a positive case within the school. Per FERPA and HIPAA regulations, we cannot disclose the classroom, the homeroom, or any other information that may allow you to determine who that individual was. We will merely state that a member of our school community has tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. I think a good way to end the presentation today, prior to encouraging you to utilize all of the resources that I mentioned today, and also to have a conversation with your children about all the wonderful things that are scheduled to happen here as we start the school year, is that we'll be starting to attend Mass again in September. Our opening Mass will be the second week of school on that Wednesday. I believe it's the 15th at 8 a.m. We encourage you to attend Mass if you feel so inclined to do so. It was wonderful to be able to end our school year with a closing Mass and graduation Mass last year, and it's also great that we're able to open the year with a school Mass as well. Once again, I want to thank you for your time today, and also for all of your support and patience as we work as a school community to provide the best possible and the safest atmosphere for the education of the children at St. Amelia School. I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.